Good morning, good morning, good morning, my people. Assalamu alaikum, greetings, peace and blessings to everyone. I pray everyone is doing well this wonderful, wonderful day. Whenever you all decide to check in with the video, with the live, and all the good stuff. So I am your host, Imani Muhammad. Just getting set up, getting ready to have a powerful interview in the next few minutes. Give me 1 second as I adjust my sound. I got some background noise, so give me 1 second, y'all. All right. So it has been a minute since my last show. And if you all caught the first show of 2022, that was actually about real estate and buying property and houses in Portland. So if you didn't get a chance to check that show out, please take a moment to do that, because that is priority, very important information from my personal realtor, but more importantly, to talk about the housing market and talk about what ownership looks like, for us. And so, powerful show. Check it out. That was our first show of 2022, and today is the second show of 2022. So I'm really excited about to have this conversation with a brother who has a story, has a powerful story, y'all. So anyway, for those of you that are just tapping into the art of living, let me just share with you what it's about. I wrote a book in 2020, I believe it was, right when COVID kind of hit, maybe 2019. First edition of the book was about a 9-page ebook, and it was around the art of living. Part of my journey in life has been studying and understanding different religions, different philosophies, um, and figuring out how they merge and how they come together. And so I kind of summed up 3 principles that I think no matter what religion you're in, no matter what um, philosophy you study, anything like that, I feel like knowledge, wisdom, and understanding are 3 principles that are universal across the board. And so I break down what I mean by knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. But again, universal principles for us as individuals and human beings to be able to begin to shift our mindset into thinking like gods as opposed to thinking like subservient people, right? Um, and that's, there's many reasons why we are not living in our greatness. And there's many reasons why, and when I say we, I'm talking about myself too, that we are not being great, right? And a lot of that has to do with our society. A lot of that has to do with our upbringing. In the Holy Quran, it mentions that we are born into sin and shaped in iniquity. And so iniquity shapes our own thought processes, and it keeps us from thinking that we are less than who we are. So the book, The Art of Living, that I wrote, is really to get us out of that horizontal or that basic mediocre plane and getting us to think higher, to a higher level, higher vibration, and higher level of existence. And so that's the book that I wrote, Art of Living. And from there, because I like to talk, I like to have people in my presence, and I like to have dialogue, because I think telling story and having dialogue is how people learn and get motivated and inspired by other people. And so the um, the live interview started. This is about a year and a half ago. Live interview started. So I was doing live interviews on Instagram, learning how to do that. And then I rolled into the YouTube channel. So here we are, a year into it, and really excited. But more importantly, the comments and the feedback that I receive from different people, just hearing clips of interviews from different people, or, inspirational moments, that is really why we use this platform. So again, that's kind of the history of the art of living. That's the background. Started from a book, started from my own personal journey, and now, being blessed and honored to bring different people from all over the United States, to just share in dialogue and have a conversation. So that is the journey. That's why we are here this morning, and I'm excited, really excited to bring this brother on. I'm gonna just pause there because we're gonna talk about who he is, but his journey, his passion. Never met the brother in person, but I saw him speak, and we just gonna jump in. So let me go ahead and bring the brother in. And for those of you that either you listen to this live, or you listen to it later, or you listen to the podcast, just make sure you share it out to a friend, because it's really important that we share information of success stories about our people and about who we are. So with that being said, let me bring my brother in. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sister. How you doing?
Oh, I'm so blessed and excited and happy and all of the above. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, I want to just say that I'm thankful and I'm honored to be uh, being interviewed at this time. I'm live right now with my Instagram going as well. Um, I like your work. I like everything that you're doing. Of course, being students of uh, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, by the eternal leader, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. This is a great thing that we have going here with this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, being able to help resurrect our people and
Yes.
ourselves be resurrected. So I just want to be able to be that face of the streets, because I mean that's where I come from. So
Right.
let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Absolutely. You already started with the intro, my brother. So, of course, as I shared, I met you, not personally, but I met you at the BWO conference. I saw you on stage, and I said, this brother's story is, first of all, profound and amazing, and also very rare, right? Like, now we know in the nation, there's a lot of us that have come from all types of walks of life, and we've changed our lives, right? When you talk about that, layering that across the masses of people that don't get those opportunities to change, right? And
Yes,
so when
ma'am.
I heard your story, when I heard, the 15 years and all of that, I just was like, this is how the teachings are what they are. So you and I understand what that means, but let's break it down for folks. So can you just share with folks a little bit of your journey, of just kind of where you spent some of your time, but more importantly, what was it about these teachings that helped you shift and change your life?
Yes, ma'am. Uh, First, let me open up. I apologize
Yes,
for the
sir.
open up. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger and exalted Christ. And I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the extension of the Son of Man. I would like to greet every brother and sister with the greeting words of peace, which we say in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, just to get into it, my name is Brother Winford X. Um, I am an author of a book, Determined to Change. Not only is it a book, but it is a lifestyle. Determined to Change is from
Mm-hmm.
moment to moment. It's not just one day or something like that, man. It's every day of your life,
Right.
because so many things hit you at one time. But just to give a little bit about myself, I did 15 years in a federal penitentiary, and I come from a gang affiliated background, drug infested environment. And, just like the average black man and woman, all around America, the way that we grew up. And, I was a part of that. And I had my father. A lot of brothers say they don't know their father or their father was incarcerated. But I had an opportunity to have my father. My father was there.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that my father was there, good principles, good morals, always taught me, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. But the environment, and I didn't learn this until later on into my journey when I was already in a federal prison, but it made me recap and think back. I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say that no matter what environment that you are placed in, or no matter what good you have in yourself, depending on the environment that you are placed in, it can produce heredity. And he said, no matter what good is in you, the environment that you're in will shape you and turn you into itself.
Right.
And that's exactly what happened. I was turned into the surroundings and the atmosphere of my environment. And I became that. And by the time I knew it, I was going to fighting in school, getting into it, smoking weed with the homies, and it's average stuff, and it's things that you see, that you're around, and you don't want to be left out. Everybody smoking weed and everybody, doing their little thing, and you don't want to be the black sheep. You don't want to be the one that stuck out. So peer pressure, I fell into it, and that was something that. And I didn't look at it as a bad thing. I looked at it as that was love to me. That was my homies. That was my block. That was my friends. So, I didn't see anything harmful. I didn't see nothing wrong with that until I end up going to prison, and I had the opportunity to slow down and think about all the things that happened and that led up to the demise of me being incarcerated and doing 15 years in a federal penitentiary. But I wanted to iterate that the minister saying about, being in that environment and how it produces heredity, because as I look back and I started listening to the minister, that's exactly what happened. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So you were introduced to the teachings while you were in prison.
Correct.
Okay. And then in terms of what was it about the teachings that just resonated with you?
Yes, ma'am. Well, it all started, I didn't come right into the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided and taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I was Sunni Islam. I was a Sunni Muslim. There's only one Muslim. I really don't like saying it because it brings division. But it's only one Muslim, but you have different, sects and different certain, ideologies and certain traditional ways of Islam. And when I first went into the prison, I did read the book Message to the Black Man, but at that time, it didn't resonate. Didn't resonate. Coming from the streets and being affiliated with a blood gang, I went into prison and I was affiliated with them there. So even though Message to the Black Man was given to me, was introduced, spiritually, I wasn't awakened. I didn't. I read it 3 times, but I was so young. I was 19 years old when I went to a federal penitentiary, and I was so still saturated with the street life. All I wanted to do was read street novels. Cold as Winter Ever by Sister Soldier. That's one of the that's a great book.
Yes, sir.
And I read so many street books because I was still connected. My mind was still connected to the streets. I felt like I was missing out on so many things. So I carried that on into the prison. And let me say this for brothers and sisters. man fear what he don't understand.
Mm.
You fear going into a
Yes.
situation. I don't care how hard you were on the streets or what you did on the streets. When you come into a whole nother world that you have no knowledge of, naturally it brings fear.
Right.
So you don't know what to expect. You have a very long time in prison. I thought that the 17 and a half years that I had was long, until I came in encounter with other brothers that had been in prison for 20 years, 25, 30 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And some brothers were never getting out. I seen
Right.
brothers with paperwork that said deceased. It didn't have an out date. It said deceased. So the reality of that made me think about my little 17 and a half years, and I didn't even want to talk about it.
Right.
But that was a blessing. That was mercy from Allah showing me. I think that's when the journey started. But I became Sunni Muslim, and I started learning my prayers in Arabic. And when I learned my prayers, I was the muezzin. I called the adhan for 7 years. That's when I learned about Ramadan and praying in Arabic and these things. Beautiful, beautiful brotherhood, beautiful ummah, beautiful congregation of brothers in the Sunni community. But as the years went by, there was still a void. I didn't know what it was, but something was missing.
Yep.
Something was still missing. And as I would read the Quran in every Ramadan, we're taught to get blessings with congregational salat. So I would see brothers in the nation on the yard. And I would always read the Quran, and I would always, see those brothers, and I would always try doing Ramadan to get both groups to pray together. Let's make Ramadan together. So some of the brothers in the Sunni community used to say, those are not real Muslims. And when I heard that, I'm not really too much knowing about the nation,
Right.
not really too much knowing about the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, not too much knowing about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Now, you got to remember, I still have a mind that the environment shaped me in.
Right.
So when I hear a black leader as Farrakhan, my first mindset was, oh, he working for the government. He's still alive.
Right. Come on.
He's still alive. Why isn't he dead?
Yeah.
That's the mindset that I had.
Right.
All the leaders for the black communities have been killed. So why is he still here? And so I have this in my ear. Certain Sunni brothers are saying, hey, those are not real Muslims. So I held on to that. And as I journeyed, I held on to that. But this is what really awakened me. This was the first sign of awakening, was just having an opportunity to observe how the brothers in the Nation of Islam in the penitentiary, how they were moving, how they was always conducting themselves. The brothers was working out. The brothers was conscious on their eating habits. The brothers was vegetarians. Brothers was eating one meal a day. Brothers wasn't using profanity. And anytime certain gangs would get into it in the prison, you had Bloods, you had Crips, you had GDs, you had Vice Lords, you had Latin Kings, you had Mexican gangs, you had white gangs, you had so many gangs. Prison is one big political world. It's politics. So there is no such thing as going to prison and, hey, I'm solo. I roll by myself. There is that's not going to fly. Being in that world, you have to be connected to something. Okay. And anytime different gangs would get into it, the Nation of Islam those brothers would always be the mediator for both sides. They would always be able to come, and the warden of the whole prison would let the Muslims, the nation brothers, hey, y'all handle that, because honestly, the prisoners have more power than the guards. The prisoners have more power than the captains and the lieutenants and the warden. The prisoners run the yard, basically.
Right.
So time and time again, as different, respected gangs would get into it, and Nas would get ready and come out, and some they could save, some they couldn't. But the ones that they could stop, the Muslims always, the Nation of Islam came forward, and I was attracted to that.
Right.
I was attracted to the way they carried themselves. And I wanted to know, what is making you do that? What is allowing you to control this whole environment? This environment is a deadly environment. What is allowing you to control that? Where are you getting it from? So I was intrigued with that. And like I said, I was in the Sunni community, but as I continued to read the Quran, and as I read the Quran, and as Allah was guiding me in the Quran, I just couldn't put down that these were not real Muslims, because in their actions, it showed me the opposite of what everybody was telling me. So I was curious of that. And one time, me and his brother, we worked in the kitchen together, and he was in the Nation of Islam, and he handed me the study guide number 19, the knowledge of God, who is God. And he told me, he said, take this back to your dorm and read this and let me know what you think. When I took it back and I read it, I knew something in me, something happened. Something happened. And in study guide number 19, it was breaking down the difference between the brain and the mind.
Yep. Yes, sir.
And when it started breaking down the difference between the brain and the mind, it said the brain is finite, but the mind is infinite, meaning the mind is far greater than the brain. So when it started breaking down the human anatomy in science and mathematics, something happened in me, and I said, this is what I've been missing.
Right.
Well, the next day, I went back to the brother, and I said, this is very interesting. And he invited me to Jumar with the nation. I told the imam of the Sunni community, hey, I'm going to go sit with the brothers in the nation. And this is the first time that I was introduced to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I looked at a DVD, and the first DVD that I ever watched of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was The Origin of Blackness. And when I started watching that DVD, The Origin of Blackness, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan started breaking down the creation of the black man, the original man, directly connected to God himself, I started to cry. I started to cry. And as the brothers watched me, the brothers gave me some tissue and said, welcome home. And as I kept watching the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the tears kept falling down, and I wasn't embarrassed. It was brothers that was in there, and I wasn't embarrassed, and brothers wasn't embarrassed because I was crying. But I really felt like a load was released from me. And I'm still in prison. I still have years. This happened in 2008. I got locked up in 2000, the year 2000 to 2015. In 2008 is when I had this experience. So I had already been locked up. I had already been incarcerated for 8 years. I had 7 years left to go. So in 2008, when I experienced the origin of blackness, it seemed like a load was lifted. And that's when my journey began. That's when my genesis began with the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided and taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So that's when I really started to dive in. And But to answer your question, the attraction, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that unlikes attract.
Right.
And when you are alike, it repels, right? So that's like saying if you get two magnets, one positive, one negative, they're going to connect. Right. But if they're the same, you're not going to be able to bring them together. It's going to continue to repel. So being a positive that I seen, and me still having a void that needed to be filled, we can say that there was a negative. Right. So that void that needed to be filled was a representation of a negative. So that negative was attracted to the positive of what I seen coming out of those brothers that was representing the Nation of Islam.
Absolutely.
So when that happened, I snatched on through it, and from that point on, it was on from that point.
Right. Never look back.
Never look back.
Absolutely. You know, I first of all, as you were sharing your story, you know, I was definitely there with you. I was getting a tear myself because I understand what that connection is, right? When you have a void, but then you find that piece, and you don't know how to articulate it necessarily, right, but you know what that feeling is, you know. And just to relate a little bit, you know, I joined the Nation when I was 16 years old. I was a sophomore in high school, and I did kind of similar. I wasn't Sunni, but I studied, I did a comparison religion paper, and I studied, you know, Eastern religion, Eastern Islam, and then compared it to the Nation of Islam. So I went through, you know, all the different beliefs or whatever, right? And so when I finished my paper, I said, the only thing that's different, which is a major difference, but the only thing that's different is that the Nation of Islam tells me who God is today, as opposed to some historical prophet or historical God. That's right. Like for me, it was relevance because I grew up in the church, and I was always like, well, if God is then, where is he today? I just need to see God today, because if I'm living, right? That's right. But I can read about some people in a book. Where is God today? You can't tell me he don't love us now. That's so right. That's what I was looking for. And so the Nation for me answered that. It was clear. I could see a man in live flesh, right, that embodied the spirit that I'm reading about in the Bible, Holy Quran, and any other scripture. Yes, and so that was for me. That was what solidified me. And I used to just tell people, like, I wasn't so much into the spiritual piece, because I was and I'm still to this day, a very like cause and effect. This is a table. If I hit the table, it's going to make noise, like very basic cause and effect. And so absolutely. Reality. You know, I got the spirit. Come on now. The reality, the mathematical theology, as we're taught. And so it wasn't until later that I got the spirituality piece that I'm still learning. It's always a journey, but I could relate to what you were sharing about. You were missing something, right? And growing up, I was always searching and yearning for God. And like I said, I grew up in the Baptist church. Family was in the Baptist church. Studied. I was at a Catholic school, so I studied all types of religions. But I was literally looking for, where is God today? And that's the Nation for me. The Nation answers that. The Nation gives me a person to look at in terms of the embodiment of the Christ figure. You know, like it's just, as we said, it's just the mathematics piece. And so it's something to, I just wanted to share that piece, but I also wanted to transition to how you came up with your book title, right? Of Determined to Change. And just share a little bit about, again, you talked about the journey and what filled the void, but then that consistency. I think that's part of the things that I want to talk about. We always talk about in the Nation, people falling out of the process, right? Because this is a process to perfection. Absolutely. You don't just arrive, right? So if you could share a little bit about what has kept you on this journey, like what has kept you in that spirit of being determined to change every single day.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. Determined to change, again, like I said, that's moment to moment. So determined to change comes with everything that God has allowed me to experience. And The way that I came up with that title was Miss Connie, rest in peace. May Allah be pleased with her. She's no longer with us, but she was a part of our ABS company. And actually, she helped me put my book together. And she was my editor. She was my publisher to Determined to Change. But before we came up with the title, she asked me, she said, what are we going to name it? And at the time, I didn't know. And I told her, I said, well, let me sleep on it. And she said, cool. I said, let me sleep on it. And as I went home and as I started to just lay in bed and I fell asleep. In the middle of the night, I'm talking about, I'm asleep, but I'm having a vision. Of course, I'm asleep, but I'm in a vision. And I started thinking back when I was in prison. I used to have visions of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan while I was incarcerated. I had never seen him in life, but he came to me in a vision. And I would pray to Allah that one day I would get an opportunity to meet him or to even see him in real time, be in the same vicinity, be in the same room, mosque, however it would come. I prayed to the God for that. And that came to fruition. That happened. But going back to the name, as I'm thinking about this, as I'm asleep in my vision, when I was in prison visioning the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I would pray to Allah and say that I'm determined to see him one day. And I knew that in order to get credit with the God, you would say, I knew that I would have to continue to be determined to change the condition. And I want people to understand this. Just because I have on a bow tie, just because you see me in the nation and under the teachings does not mean that I still do not struggle.
Right.
Your faith fluctuates up and down.
Yes.
Even though we are in the teachings, you are still saturated in darkness.
Come on.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says that it is called breaking the dawn, breaking of the dawn, meaning that the dawn represents darkness, but there are some light. In the morning time, before the sun is physically seen, the light runs in front of the sun, and it's a little crack of light, but it's still mostly darkness. That's called dawn, D-A-W-N, the breaking of the dawn, light breaking into darkness. So this is how I look at our lives, our minds. We are breaking of the dawn.
Right.
It's darkness mixed with light. So we don't just see the sun. The sun just doesn't come out, because if it did, the light is so strong, it would literally blind us. And Allah knows this. So there is a gradual process of the light breaking through the darkness. So as we come into the Nation of Islam, I don't want nobody to think, because you do have people that fall out and say, well, they said, I came into the nation, I asked for a job, didn't nobody give me no job, I needed some money and these things. See, we come in with the wrong, in with the wrong mindset, thinking that light is supposed to suffice everything that you need, which it does, but it's a process to the light.
Yes.
To come out of the darkness. See, the answers are there, but you have to come and work in the Nation of Islam. And that's what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us. Faith without works is dead.
Come on.
So therefore, a lot of brothers do reject the teachings because they misunderstand what that light represents. So I just want people to understand that, yes, we still struggle. When you see us, we listen, I'll be the first to raise my hand and say, I still have struggles and shortcomings.
Right.
I share with our brother Ben X all the time. I have the opportunity to be around this brother all the time.
Yes, sir.
Very young brother, but the brother mine is so far. His vision, his foresight is so out there, man, to where we just build, and I have these opportunities to dialogue with him. And honestly, all this time that I've been under the teachings, experiencing from prison, coming home, I've had knowledge of the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But it has been Brother Ben X that has shown me the understanding of the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided and taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I don't want nobody to think that that is the same. Having knowledge of the teachings and having an understanding is totally different.
Come on.
We can have knowledge of the teachings. We can quote. We can read the book. We can do this, but to have understanding means to apply what's being said. What the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was revealed to him by God in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, and extending that to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's not the same as having the knowledge of it. When you have the understanding, the understanding takes a while. It takes a process to get to that. So to go all the way back to me in the name of determined to change, that is my life. And I want people to know that determined to change means it's every day, it's moment to moment. There are good days, there are bad days. I heard some motivational speakers say, oh, don't ever think that there's bad days. Don't ever say that. I understand what you're doing, but no, I like to stay in the reality of things because Allah, God, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that when Allah was self-created, Satan came right along with God. So therefore, we cannot sweep that under the rug. Don't sweep that negative force under the rug. No, you have to respect that. You need those bad days because in those bad days is when you are able to go against yourself. You face adversity. So we have to have that. Pressure does two things. It busts pipes and it make diamonds. See? So it's either you're going to bust or you're going to continue to endure. And we got the teachings. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Allah, he war with himself for eons of time. So that's what I mean about determined to change. The reality of God I can see now. Being in the teachings has allowed me to take a picture, and when that picture is developed, I'm able to see myself. See, before that, I'm taking the picture, I'm looking at everybody else but myself.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I couldn't see the reality of myself. But oh man, I can never thank Allah enough for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So I will forever be indebted to that man, and I'm just forever determined to change. And that is a universal slogan that I came up with, determined to change, because in order to create a new man or woman, we first must create a new mind. So therefore, it's going to be obstacles. It's going to be red lights, and it's going to be where you're going to have to detour and you're going to have to do these things. You're going to have to crash, throw this one away and start all the way over. So in order to change and continue to change, you have to be determined.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I shared right before you jumped on, and I'll repeat it for those that may have missed it. You know, when I wrote my book, The Art of Living, right? Because I believe that there's an art to living, right? As opposed to just surviving. And in there, I break down knowledge, wisdom, and understanding as universal principles. So very similar to how you just broke it down. I think so many times we sit up under, whether it's people, college, whatever, fill in the blank. We sit up under and we listen to information, or we can name it knowledge. And that's all we do, right? To your point, we don't test it, we don't apply it, we don't try to be scientists and figure things out. We don't experiment. We just sit and say, oh, I know something, right? And to your point, and I say this in my book, how many people have we walked by in the streets that can science up, the moon, sun, and stars, and can tell us what we need to be doing with our life, yet they haven't been able to secure food, clothes, and shelter for themselves, right? So to me, and no judgment, but I'm using this as a principle, to me, that is an individual who has a lot of knowledge, but hasn't figured out the wisdom and understanding piece, which is the execution of it, right?
Absolutely.
And, for anyone that's listening, we're talking about the teachings, but I hope everyone understands that the teachings are universal, right? Meaning you can apply it to any walk of life, right? And one thing that I think is so important is understanding that the nation, let me back it up. Master Farad Muhammad came to make us gods.
That's right.
Right. And so if you take on that mindset, then every obstacle, every situation, whatever you encounter, you're supposed to overcome it. Now, you may not overcome it in the moment. You may not overcome it, a year from now. It may take time, to the point being determined to change in that process.
Right.
But if you understand that we were born to be gods, then it is our duty to test things out. That's how we get the history of the scientists. The scientists are testing their knowledge. They're not just, oh, I got some information and that's cool. No, they're like, well, let me see if positive and negative really do this, right? So so that's all the way down to you and I as human beings, is that male, female, we have to figure out how to take whatever it is. If you learn, children do it all the time. Children learn how to tie their shoe, right? So what they do now, they double knot it so they can run faster, right? Like it's just a small example of the journey of when you learn a skill, you apply it, and then you go to the next step, right? Or the next level.
That's right.
And so I think it's so important for people. And again, that's the nation is my foundation. I believe every Black person should join the nation, but that's whatever, here nor there. You won't come your way how you come your way. But at the same time,
that's right. Come on, sister.
At the same time, you have to be engaged in a process of self-improvement. And so if whatever you learning, whatever you under, whatever person you studying from, if you're not changing or not in the process of trying to be a better person from moment to moment, day to day, then what we doing?
Right.
And again, and as the Holy Quran tells us over and over again, we are born in sin and shaped in iniquity. We can walk outside of our doors and see that there we go. Come on now. There it is. Let me take it. Pause for the commercial break. Get your book. There we go. Finalcall.com.
That's right.
But if we're not aware enough to see that the society that we are living in is not the kingdom of God, like let's just take it all the way to the highest standard. We got wars happening. We got homelessness, houselessness, drugs. All this stuff is jumping off. So we automatically know that this standard, this way of life, is just not the way we should be living, right? So once you accept that piece, then that's when the journey, begins. But I think, to your point about the application, and to your point about Brother Ben helping you get the understanding of it, right? I think that is so vital and so important. And it's a blessing to be able to have a relationship like that can help kind of sharpen each other up on understanding of the principles, or understanding what this means, there's a lot of information in the nation where some people turn away from it. Mother Tynetta, may Allah be pleased with her soul, a lot of people couldn't understand her perspective, right? So we turn away from it. But my point of saying that too is it's always crucial to have someone in the process with you, in the journey with you, that can sharpen you, right? And I do think a lot of times we fall out of the process, and it could be any process. I don't want to just make it only about Nation of Islam. Any process that's about self-improvement, for this statement that I'm making, if you don't have someone that can mirror you, that can help sharpen you, that can hold you accountable, you're typically going to fall out of that process. Because,
absolutely,
like you said, we fight in light and dark every day. That's the real holy war,
Right.
constant, every day. So if we don't have someone on the outside, a close brother, sister, friend, whatever, that's holding us accountable as well, then that's what makes us, in my opinion, and what I've seen over time, we fall out that process. So it's important to be in community with one another.
Right.
I don't went all the way full circle on a whole bunch of topics right there.
But listen,
Go ahead.
I'm glad that you did, because I'm glad that you mentioned self-improvement.
Yes.
I do a segment on Instagram, self-improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 10 o'clock Central Time. I can't say what times is what days exactly, because I am security of Brother Ben X, his personal security. So whatever he has going on, or I'm looking at his itinerary, things are subject to change.
Right.
So that is a priority. But with that being said, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that we don't need permission to do what's right.
Come on now.
If you know what our people need,
mm-hmm.
He's not the only leader. He's the leader. He's the best example.
Come on.
But we should not be on the sideline rooting him on.
No.
Especially when he's been on the battlefield for 67 years of his life.
Mm-hmm.
He's an example to show us what we should be doing and what we should do to grab the baton and extend the work that he's doing.
Right.
So therefore, I came up with something, self-improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy that you said, I wish every brother and sister, Black person, was in the Nation of Islam. But let me say this. Every brother and sister all on the earth, 196,940,000 square miles of the earth.
Yes.
Every human being. Some are conscious of it and some are not.
Come on.
Everybody is in the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Again, self-improvement. See, sometimes just saying registered member run some of our people away, because
yes, sir,
sometimes they're just undeveloped.
Yeah.
And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a great example of teaching us that a good Christian is a good Muslim.
Yes.
A Jew is a good Muslim. Okay. Whatever your denomination is, whatever your representation is, nothing is more powerful than self-improvement. That is Islam.
Right.
Self-improvement is being able to represent the best of yourself in your highest form.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is the ultimate persona. That is the ultimate pinnacle that we're striving to reach, is striving to represent the highest of success that we can within ourselves as human beings. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says self-improvement is the basis for community development. So self-improvement, I'm always talking about putting the mirror up. See, it's not about pointing fingers at mama. Mama fell short here. This is why I'm in my situation. Daddy wasn't here. Yeah. When you're a child, you can get away with that. But see, Allah is a just God. And when I say that Allah is a just God, I mean in this sense. Your mother's spirit is not your spirit. Your father's spirit is not your spirit. You may look like them. You may even walk and talk like them. But you have your own individual expression. And that only comes from the reality of God himself. So this is why I'm always saying, look, man, I don't care nothing. I would love for you to be a part of the Nation of Islam, to get registered. But I don't sit on our people with getting registered, because I understand the condition that we're in as a whole and what we've been through. I want, if you good with your title, keep your title.
Come on.
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us that the Nation of Islam, under the Star and Crescent, it consists of all different walks of life.
Yes.
Brother Nuri Muhammad said that sometimes we get it misconstrued, or we get confused or misunderstood when we say that our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. We're not saying that everybody should have on bow ties and suits and clean shave.
Right.
We got brothers with dreads and big beards that has the Spirit of God. That is the reality of God.
Come on now.
So it's not about uniform.
Yes.
No, uniform is not what we're on. It's the unity as a people. Because at the end of the day, the common denominator that we all share is we were all taught by the same slave master.
Right.
That is the common denominator.
Yes.
And if any white folks is watching this, I'm not trying to stand on you. I'm not trying to belittle you. I'm only speaking truth.
Yes,
I'm only speaking truth. And that's what we have to start doing. We have to start having conversations and dialogues about truth. And what's more better than self-improvement? This is why this is the Messiah.
Right.
There has never been a man on this earth that has taught like him. See, in the time of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, told us all the things bad about Christianity, how it came about. It came through a slave-made doctrine. See? But see, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, his job was not the same as the Honorable Minister Khan's job.
Right.
Wasn't the same. See, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he came to break up the psychological mindset of
the slave
Christianity and the things that it was doing to us. See, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said that 2/3 of the Quran was for me, and 1/3, another 1/3 is for some other fella. Now that other fella is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. See, he told us about the robbery, the rape, the 64 hidden years to make a slave.
Right.
He taught us thoroughly about this. See, it wasn't 1619. No, it was 1555.
Come on now.
64 hidden years of how they were able to make the slave. See, this was hidden. This was swept under the rug, even in the white man's history, because it was so brutal.
Right.
He didn't want to expose how bestiality his mind was. See? So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had to come back behind his teacher and clean up that a good Christian is a good Muslim. See, now we are in the day now that we can say 6 + 1 = 7, and 5 + 2 = 7, and 4 + 3 = 7. All of us have different formulas, but we get to the same equation.
Absolutely.
Even white people, your skin, oh, white man, blue-eyed devil, blonde hair, this and that. Yes, but you still can be qualified for the hereafter.
Come on.
It's just that you have to be able to self-improve. Right. You have to be able to look in the mirror and see yourself and see and study and be able to observe and say, yes, my people were wrong. Because I know white people. Listen, the 15 years that I did in the penitentiary, you just said you went through Catholic, you studied all these things. See, I didn't see all that happened for me in prison in 15 years. Right. I had an opportunity to study Catholic. I had an opportunity to study Moors, 5%ers, Christian, Egyptologists. I've studied all. God has allowed me to, in that 15 years on that journey, I've studied so much. And I thank Allah for that. Because when I found my base of the Nation of Islam, all these things that I studied,
Mm-hmm.
The life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, it covers everything
Everything.
to give you an understanding, even with
Come on.
our Hebrew Israelite brothers. I studied with those brothers in prison. Those brothers, with a thorough study, recognized that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the representation of the Hebrew Israelite. He's the representation of the Christian. He's the representation of the Muslim. He's the representation of the Jew. What is a Jew? A Jew is not a race of people.
No.
A Jew is a title, that means a covenant with God, a promise with God. So if I have a promise with God, that means that I am striving to be a friend and to align myself with God. Same as a Christian. What is a Christian? One who's crystallized and anointed in the true teachings of Jesus the Christ. He's the example of God. What is a Muslim? A Muslim is one who submits his will to do the will of God. What is Islam? Islam is a submission of peace within self, harmony, directly connected to the reality of the supreme being. So when we look at all these different titles, we're saying the same thing.
Same thing. Absolutely.
Same thing. So it comes all the way back to self-improve and determined to change. So listen, man, hey man, I get in there, I get in my bag, and because I take this serious, Sister Amani, because
yes, sir.
I take it serious because we only live once.
That's it.
You only get one life, and whatever that needs to come out.
Yep.
I'm not trying to take. I can't take nothing when I go in the ground. That's it. So I want brothers and sisters to understand that you're not. I don't want you to feel embarrassed.
Right.
To look at a man in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and be proud to say that you are a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, despite what mothers say, despite what fathers say, despite what your grandmama say, despite what those say. You have to be able to stand up and say, man, I am a student of that man because I'm thoroughly researching the things that he said, and everything that he said has manifested to be true and exact.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We could be here all day because that's what the teachings do. It's just infinite. But, one of the things when you were mentioning how Minister Farrakhan is the example of all titles, right?
Hold on, sister. Let me close this out. This is about to cut off. Brothers and sisters, the time has I only have 1 minute and 15 seconds remaining on this live on Instagram, so I'm about to get ready and cut this off. I really appreciate every brother and sister that came on just to sit into the interview with our sister Imani Muhammad. So every brother and sister, I thank you. If I said anything that rubbed anybody the wrong way, that is not my true intention. If I said something of benefit, understand that it comes directly from Allah through me. I am only a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I'm striving to help that man get our people safe to the other side. So with that being said, I greet you in the greeting words of peace, which we say in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. All right. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You could have just sent them right over here.
Okay.
It's all good. Yes, but I was going to say, one of the things when we're talking about how Minister Farrakhan is the embodiment of all titles, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It made me think of the saying that, the nation and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gives us the root knowledge, and other teachings give us a branch, right? So they get us close.
Come on.
And that's where I say we can cut all the shortcuts out. Just come straight to the root. You know what I mean? And that's what the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. It gives us the root knowledge. So we don't have to guess. We don't have to, well, is this true or not? When God came and gave us actual facts in student enrollment, and then the scientists 80 years later got real close to those numbers, that should be enough, right? So that's what when I say, and I thank you for clearing it up in terms of naming that everyone, falls up under the banner of the Nation of Islam. I highly encourage us all, whether you want to be registered or not, grab the book Message to the Black Man,
Come
How to
on
Eat
now.
to Live. Like, begin to just have that introduced into your library and your mindset, because again, first of all, you'll cut out a lot of guesswork.
Right.
And you're just getting closer to the root, which is science, wisdom, and understanding, mathematics. It just, it's pure knowledge. And that's where I think when you talked about studying different religions and all of that, even myself, I came in the nation at 16, but I traveled to New York. I studied at, with the Nation of Gods and Earths, went to the Allah school. I was talking to the Nuwabians on the corner of 125th in Harlem, like, because I love knowledge, right? But
Right.
what I was able to
That's
do
good.
was to use the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as my filter. So for me, if it couldn't make sense to the teachings, then I throw it away. But if I could science it up and it aligned with the teachings, then that's why I can say I'm a Muslim. I'm a, all the titles.
Right.
I studied,
Come on now.
Taoism. You know what I mean? Eastern
Right.
philosophy, because I
Yep.
can find truth in all, because I'm rooted in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which
Right.
is pure mathematics. So I think that's another piece that I just encourage people to do, is to find a filter, right? Some filters may not be the nation. Again, I'm telling you that the nation will get you to the root, but maybe your filter is something else, and that's fine. But you got to have a filter that you're at least digesting the information that you're receiving from, right?
Absolutely.
When we're taught lies our whole life, and we're taught that, Santa Claus is real and all that stuff, that became our filter. And so then we started believing in make-believe stuff, which is why we couldn't understand reality that was right in our face, because we were, like you said earlier, we were in an environment and we became shaped by that environment.
Right.
So children, we're taught all these mythical things that ain't real. So then guess what happens when we grow up 16 and 21? We believe in this non-reality,
Right.
because we've been taught through that filter. And so that's the same thing when you put a filter of reality on your life, a filter of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a filter of self-improvement, then you begin to, one, change your life, but also you can align with different values and different people and find similarities and common ground,
Right.
amongst all people. And I think
Right.
that's one of the, like you mentioned about how the brothers, in prison were the, like, mediators, right?
Right. Yes,
When
ma'am.
all the conflict was jumping off, they were the mediators. The only way that they can have been the mediators, right, is that they came with that peaceful spirit, but they also understood the root of conflict. They
Right.
also understood what caused the deviation or the separation. So
Right.
it just goes back to, we get to the root of things. We're not trying to deal with the symptoms. We want to explain why are our people in the condition that they're in.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're not trying to just put a Band-Aid on it and,
No, ma'am. Right.
So I just, it's a beautiful thing. I have like 2 or 3 more questions, but I want to deal with the recidivism, right? And I'm gonna try kind of change gears a little bit, but
I'm here.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. I have a nonprofit that I run. I'm a founder of the nonprofit. I started in 2010, and our mission is to raise awareness to dismantle the school to prison pipeline, right? And we know that that's a true epidemic, as I call it, not only in my state of Oregon, but across the United States. We know that's real. We know that the private industrial complex builds prisons based on 3rd grade reading scores. We know that Black, brown children are the lowest sometimes in those disparities. And so when we're talking about school to prison pipeline, and we're talking about the recidivism rate that we know is very high, right? What do you, and again, this is just me picking your brain, what do you think, I'm not gonna say what causes it, because we know what causes it, right? It's the system that we're under.
Right.
But how do you think either parents or institutions that are trying to challenge that or address it, what do you think some things are needed to be able to change the trajectory of in and out, but also stopping it before it even happens? Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Thank you for the question. What I think is needed is very Truth.
Yes, sir.
Truth. And it takes fearless individuals to speak that truth.
Mm-hmm.
This is why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that he wants 10,000 fearless. Okay? Because in order to expose the things that have been done and is continuously being done, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the best example of being able to expose that truth and expose the lies. See, in order for a people to trick you, they first must know the truth. They have to know. A person can't trick you with all falsehood. It's not going to work. So I have to throw some truths in there for you to catch the bait. That's the only way that I can reel you in. If I sprinkle a little truth, but the most of it is going to be deceptive intelligence. The most of it is going to be in an illusion. So therefore, the Quran says, speak truth. It says, speak truth and hurl truth at falsehood until you knock its brains out. Let me simplify and let me explain that for our listeners and our viewers. So some people may not understand it. What do you mean, Winford X? What do you mean hurl truth at falsehood until it knocks out its brains? Well, the brains in this sense is a representation of a system that has been created. A system that has been created. Everything that we do, we're being observed, we're being watched. These are people who are coming up with vicious and wicked ideas from their brain, from their minds.
Come on.
So truth has to be thrown at that. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a prime, perfect example of hurling truth at falsehood. He's allowing God to use him and to be the voice of God to speak to our people. So as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan goes in and out of generation after generation after generation after generation, this is no coincidence, family.
Come on.
No, this is no coincidence that God is preserving this representation of a new world. We have to stop being afraid. We have to stop allowing other people to create our narrative and continue to write our narrative. So when we talk about what can we do, we have to just continue to bring truth. And we have to continue to be determined to change. You know, I mean, look, one thing that I do, Sister Amani, is I respect Satan. I respect him. You got to respect Satan.
Yes.
There is no way that you will be able to defeat the evil force that came right along with Allah when Allah was self-created. How can you defeat that? How can you defeat a force that when Allah created himself, that force came right along with?
Man, come on.
You can't defeat that on your own, because whatever our desires are, Satan knows how to make them our impediments. The same things that we desire, they become our impediments. They become our shortcomings. And it puts us in a position to self-destruct. And sometimes we just give up and we say, well, this is how it is. This is exactly. I mean, you know, I heard a lot of people say, oh man, it ain't gonna never change. It's just what it is. This is just how it's gonna be. No, brother. No, sister. That's not true. Because we're only been in a pocket. We only been in a vacuum of 6,000 years. This is why we believe like this. This is why we give up. This is why we say there is no hope for the future, is because of the limited knowledge that we have. The late great Malcolm X said that the only way a people can rule you is because they have more knowledge than you. He said, but once you know what they know, they can't rule you any longer. So therefore, The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You see, I keep going back to him because he's the one who's qualified.
Right.
I don't have to keep saying it like I'm being biased. I don't want viewers and listeners to say, oh, well, he keep on saying the minister. Why he not saying nobody else? Well, show me somebody else that has never lied. Show me somebody else who's been caught up in the public.
Come on.
And had to recant their statements. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is being guided. He's being guided by a power that is representing the new world coming in. This is why the government sees him and they hide in the shadows. And they speak around him. They throw little rocks or whatever, this and that. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said on many occasions, come on out. Come on out and deal with me.
Right.
He said, because I was born to unmask Satan. I was born to bring down the tyrant. When I hear something like that, it makes me cry, because for a man to stand like that, what else can, what better feeling and what better way to live your life to know that, okay, now that God has literally chosen me to be conscious. I'm reading this book right now by Dr. Wesley Muhammad, Understanding the Assault on the Black Man, Black Manhood, and Black Masculinity. Okay.
Come on.
This book right here is aligned with the reality of my life. 15 years in a federal prison. I see the promotion of all kind of things, man, to keep us in a position that we're in.
Right.
You know, and I didn't understand the seriousness of the condition we were in until I went to prison. God has shown me too much. God has shown me too much for me to just have got out of prison, post-prison, and just get a 9 to 5 and just work Monday through Friday and enjoy the weekend and come back to a Monday and do it all over again. I'm not saying nothing. I'm not talking down on people that go to work every day, because whatever you have to do to continue to survive in a righteous way, do it.
Right.
Never be embarrassed about that. But all I'm saying is that when God chooses you, he don't choose everybody. He may choose 1 or 2 people out of your whole family.
Yep.
And your first test may be the people that you love the most.
Come on.
Them be the first people that will allow to see, because Allah says, I'm a jealous God. You can't worship me and others.
Right.
This is why we have a beautiful prophecy and stories in Bible and Quran. When we see these things about Noah, the flood was coming. He's steady telling his people the flood is coming. Noah had a son that said, I will go to the mountain. I will not get in the ark. I will take myself upon the mountain. Well, what is a mountain? A mountain is a representation that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us of power, a government. So Noah's son was saying, I'd rather go to the government and I'd rather put my trust in the government when God's messenger is saying a flood is coming.
Come on.
So during that time and that example of Noah in the scriptures, that never happened. That never happened 4,000-5,000 years ago, family. That is a prophecy.
Right.
Those are things that are happening to us right now. That Noah that is read about in the scriptures is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Come on.
The ark is not some damn wooden boat that a male and a female animal, all the animals in the earth are fitting in this boat. Come on, think about it. Right. That's not a reality. That's not science and that's not mathematics. Okay? So we have to look even deeper to the understanding of that. That is a representation of all different characteristics in walks of life. It just used animal characteristics, but that is a representation of different walks of life of the human being.
Right.
So that means that the ark is a representation of a witness, that God's messenger, the representation, he's building a ark. He's building a ark from his mouth. He's building a protection in your mind to protect yourself. So when the destruction comes, you can have the proper knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to avoid what's coming. So therefore, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is telling us to get in the ark, get in the ship, get in the classroom. Don't leave the classroom. He said, Brother Malcolm, one of our great brothers, Brother Malcolm X, we will always love that brother. What he did was between him and the messenger.
Right.
But the time he was amongst us, he did the 12 years, he did a great work. And I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say myself, that credit cannot be undone. That credit is right there. So therefore, but he left the classroom.
Right.
This is what I'm getting at. So I tell all brothers and sisters all the time, listen, man, I understand how we fall sometimes. I understand how things of the world can distract us. You're not by yourself. I'm here to tell you, you are not here by yourself being distracted from things of the world. We've been shaped like this for almost 500 years.
Right.
You're not going to automatically, as soon as you get the teachings, overnight, abracadabra, boom, bam, you just then turned into this super soldier. No, it doesn't work like that. That's why I love to engage, because I want people to understand, I know where you at. I understand how you feel inside. You want to do right. Sometimes you just don't know what, damn, I keep messing up. That's a part of it.
Right.
That's a part of it. If you read the scriptures, if you listen to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he say, yes, you got to get up. You got to continue to get up. And as you get up, you get closer to the God. You get closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. As long as God allow you to wake up, man, look, you're still in favor.
You're still in favor.
The only people that are not in favor are those that are in the ground.
Come on.
But as long as you're breathing, you're still in favor with the God. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say, get to yourself. Get in your car. Get in the shower. Go to the bathroom. Close the door. Get under the covers. Whatever you have to do to talk to the God and say, God, I want to come back. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said it like this. God speaking. He said, God say, well, that's all I've been waiting on. All I've been waiting on you to do is turn towards me.
Right.
Turn towards me, the reality that can change whatever condition that we're in. So whatever is going on, bad baby daddy, man, as a man, I'm not doing what I need to be doing right now, man, and man, I need to be doing better. Yes, but watch this. It's not over. It's not over. Whatever you're lacking in your life, as long as you're breathing, it's not over.
Right.
And that's one thing that we have to continue to remind ourselves, because people will break us down with words. People will tear us down. Oh, you ain't doing this, or man, you doing this, and man, I thought y'all ain't supposed to do this and this and that. See, people is watching. So we should be on our best behavior. We should strive to be on our best behavior, but we have to understand, man, that yes, those things that are talked about in the scriptures, not for us to try to strain our minds and try to think about what happened 4,000 and 5,000 years ago. No. Why would God want us like that? Like Sister Amanda, like you just said, sister, we are the God of now. You know, don't teach me don't tell me about a Jesus that was here 2,000 years ago.
No.
Don't get me wrong. It's good to know the history.
Right.
But don't try to tell me, the Jesus of 2,000 years ago saved, he died for your sins, and now you telling me that he died. Okay, so I gotta strain my mind to try to think about this Jesus that y'all, this image that y'all have given me. Right. And then I gotta try to move everything around because for so long I've been having this image of a blonde hair, blue-eyed man with a clean face. It's saying that that's Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior. I've had to break that down and finally got that removed. And I'm thinking about that for 2,000 years ago. And then you tell me, well, he's coming back. So now you got me looking in the past, and now you got me looking in the future. But what about the right now?
Right.
What about the present?
Right. Let me jump in on that real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Sister Ava said in what is her book? It's an audio book, The Science of Self. She said just exactly how you said it. We spend 2/3 of our mind on two realities that don't exist.
Right.
The past,
right,
and the future.
Right.
So that means we only leaving 1/3, which is less than 2/3, on the present time. Absolutely. That is why we have such a difficult time making change, doing something different, seeing what's happening in our reality, because we're thinking about Jesus back then, right, and then he's supposed to come. Absolutely. That is a psychological experiment that has continued to trap us for so many decades.
That's a fact.
You know, that's why when you study Dianetics, and I'm not even going to defend it. So I'm just going to make my statement. And if you have a question about Dianetics, call me. But there's a piece in Dianetics as auditors, and it always says, come to present time. How valuable that statement is for people, come to present time. So you said this earlier, no matter what your mama, daddy, the trauma that we've experienced, all these different things that we've gone through, don't get me wrong, it affects us.
Yes, ma'am.
And we have to be aware of how it affects us. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. But the key is understanding that present time means you are focusing on what's happening right now. And it doesn't mean that the trauma doesn't affect us, impact us, but we can't stay in those past realities.
No.
And we have to come to present time.
Right.
Another thing that you said, it made me think of, and I wanted to share this with people, and I made a video about it. You know, that concept that Jesus died for our sins, it bothered me for so many years, right? But I'm telling you, as God is my witness, after I watched the Swan Song, I said, that's what this means. I can say as a fact that the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, and I'm going to speak for me, I don't know about no one else, but I will say that that man has died for my sins.
Absolutely.
What are you talking about, Sister Imani? Well, let me tell you, this man chose to be, and I'm going to come back to my brothers, determined to change, chose to be determined to change, chooses every day to stand up for humanity on a daily basis. So to me, that is what it means to die for my sins, because you are living right now, and every time you step out on the rostrum, everywhere that Minister Farrakhan goes, he is holding the sins of our people and still representing mercy and being a representative of God. So now I know for a fact what that statement means. Now I just said I joined 16 when I was 16 years old. That's 26 years trying to understand what the hell does that concept mean of dying for. Why would they even tell us that, right? Now from like you said, Satan always comes in the straight path and has to drop a little bit of knowledge. So there was truth to that statement, right? He was looking back here saying, well, since he died 2,000 years ago, I get to just do whatever the hell I want in my life, right? Exactly. It was another false permission for us not to do right. But now, literally watching Minister Farrakhan last month doing what he does, right? I said, this is what it means. And I said it. I made a video. I said, I understand why he is who he is.
Praise be to Allah.
I understand his position. And it's not that I ever doubted it, but we all come to realizations and understandings differently, right? And maybe other people figured out what it meant a long time ago. I know for me in my walk of life, I said, this is the man that has died for my sins. And now when we talk about looking at scripture and how do we align scripture to present time, again, I don't want somebody to tell me about Moses 2,000 years ago.
Come
I
on.
read about
That's
who
right.
is Moses today? Who is Aaron today? What
Right.
are the embodiments? What are the characteristics? And not only this, I want people to understand too. Yes, you hear us elevating Minister Farrakhan's name because he deserves it.
That's right.
And also, he's an example because you and I can be not exactly, we can be instruments like him.
Right.
So it's not so much of elevating him because we're here and he's here, although there is a gap, but closing the gap gets us closer to his embodiment of who he is,
Right.
how he walks in this world, how he interacts with people, how he is unconditional loving to all his, enemies, everybody. He is the embodiment of the Christ figure. And that is what we should be striving to be. And so I just, as you were sharing and just, testifying, it just made me think of just the value of having an example in our midst, and we know that we have to have a teacher. We have to have someone to be that example. And that's how we still know that God still loves us, right?
Absolutely.
God still is among us and is still giving us an example for us to measure up to and strive to. And that's, you also said another a statement about how we're still in favor. The only ones that are not in favor are those who are 6 feet. And it's real.
Facts.
Because Ava said, if you are still breathing, God is you're still on God's mind.
Come on,
if you
now.
are still breathing, you are on God's mind.
Right.
That in and of itself should be enough for us to get up every day and work to glorify the Creator.
Right.
And yeah, so I just had to share those pieces because
I thank you. I thank you, sister, because and that's what and that's why I try to get people to understand through the self-improvement segment that I do on Facebook and on Instagram, is because I want self-improvement. The reality is that's where you're going to find God. That's where you're going to be able to get away from the spookism.
Right.
It's through self-improvement.
Right. Focus on self.
Put the mirror up, and that's where the God dwells.
Yes.
Jesus said himself, he said, seek the kingdom of God from within.
Yes.
The kingdom of God from within. So that is letting us know Solomon, the prophet Solomon in Ecclesiastes says, there is nothing more beyond the grave. He says that the grave ends all affairs. God said that I am the God of the living, not the God of the dead.
Right.
So look at all of these jewels.
Yes.
That is coming at us, that is allowing us to understand the reality of God. But in order to be able to read that and understand it correctly, you have to go through the life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided and taught by the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And Jesus is the key.
Right.
The honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that in order to become in the reality of life, he wasn't being arrogant by saying, you want to come into the reality of life, you have to mention who I am in the scriptures. That was so profound and that was so heavy, because he didn't have to self-proclaim to say that he's the Messiah.
Right.
It was other scholars and other men of schools of thought and wisdom and other embodiments of different entities around the world that were very studied men and women that were able to see the prophecies and to see and say, that man is the Messiah. What is the true definition of the Messiah? The Messiah is the master of the prophets, meaning that the Messiah has to approve. He has to be the one to seal the prophets in the scriptures. This is why The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that 75% of the Bible is prophecy and 25% of it is history.
Right.
But what the enemy did, he flipped it. He made 75% of it history and 25% of it prophecy. That's what he did. So who was the one to untangle that? Well, the most honorable Elijah, he untangled it. But then watch what Master Father Muhammad, look what he did. See, we listen, brothers and sisters, we don't have to, we're not just cheerleading the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan because we're being biased. No, I want you to really respect yourself and be patient and observe the things that this man is doing. Look, study the circumstances, study the times, study the events, study the situation that occurs around his life. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, you don't judge a man by his friends, you judge the caliber of a man by his enemies. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has the highest enemies in the land that we know. Go into your scriptures and read who were the enemies of Jesus in that time. Who were the enemies of Jesus in that prophecy in the scriptures? The Sadducees, the Pharisees, the so-called Jews, the scribes. You look right now in 2022, who's the enemies of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? The Pharisees, the Sadducees, the so-called Jews, the scribes, the media, all these people scribing, putting things out, false things about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Why? That is the question. Why? It's the most important question that we can ask, not what or how, it is why. Why are they so stuck on this man? Do y'all know that they make this man the litmus test? See, most of us don't even know what a litmus test is. When you talk about prominent Black people that are moving up in the political world, whose voice is starting to become known to the masses of the people. There are people in high places that get them to the side and ask them, what are your views of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? Why are you not asking me, what are my views of T.D. Jakes? Why are you not asking me, what are my views of Jesse Jackson? Why are you not asking me, what are my views with Al Sharpton? Why are you not asking me, what are my views of President Obama? No, you're asking me, what are my views on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan? Right then, that's when we have to remove the fear, because without a doubt, God has given us clarity. And don't think that you're doing God a favor by staying quiet or knowing the truth and still sitting back to say, well, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to have nothing to do with that. You cannot escape the wrath of God. We have too much that has been shown to us and has been revealed for us to turn down and say, man, look, man, I don't want to be a part of that. No, man. No, because watch this. The reality of it is, it can be 20 years from now. It can be 10 days. It can be 50 years from now. You're going to die anyway. You can't stay here forever. So why not strive to live whatever you have left in representing that truth? That's what that's what I say. So I'm just honest, Sister Amani. I'm filled up. I thank you for this interview, sister.
Absolutely.
Because man, listen, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has sown so many seeds from the tree that he's from. And this is why we are considered the fruit of Islam, because the fruit is the best. And we are striving to bring in a new world, man. And I just want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of that opportunity to say that I left it all out on the battlefield, of recognizing that truth. I know I didn't do 15 years to just get back home and go to the club and hit the sports bar and do all that. No, it's work that has to be done. It's a lot of our people out here. And I feel like this, and I'll close with this, sister. Every time I go speak, motivational speak, go to a school, go to a juvenile, or get back into prisons and start speaking. That's what I hope to do, is to get back into the prison so I can let brothers know, hey man, look, I did 15 years. Now let me be a warner for you, to show you that whatever that I experienced coming home after prison, you're going to have to rebuild yourself all over again. Don't think that you're going to be able to get out and just start right there, because it's a lot of reality that you're not facing right now that is not your reality right now. You got to deal with the woman. You got to deal with distractions of getting a job, providing for yourself, gas prices. We see what's going on. You know, just dealing with temptations of all kinds of foods that you didn't eat, you stopped eating. Restaurants. It's so many things that we have to deal with that they haven't had the reality to face yet. So I always believe that experience is not the best teaching. I believe taking heed is the best teaching. You don't have to experience something that I've already experienced. And that's what the Jesus, the example, the prototype, minister, they are examples. So let me go back to what you said about the Honorable Minister Lewis. Now, the minister, he's a very extraordinary man. Right. But Master Father Muhammad said, I came to make God. I came to duplicate myself. So if he's duplicating himself, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a star busting right out of the sun, watch this. Yes, he's a son. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a son of man. His light is so bright that at this particular time, you can't see the stars around the sun because the light is too bright, but the stars are there. Don't think that the stars are not there. Right now, it's daytime. The sun is shining so bright in my city, but when I look in the sky, I can't see the stars, but that don't mean that they're not there. They're there, but I won't be able to see them until darkness or the shadow of night is present, when the sun is absent. So what am I saying? I'm saying in closing that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a son. But just like Dr. Abel Muhammad said, Allah would never surround the sun with mediocrity. He would never surround the sun with okay stars. Okay? So that means that by us being a replica, by us being from that lineage, from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, yes, we have value in ourselves. This is why Brother Ben X is always saying, man, listen, it's good to see value in other people. He said, but focus on the value that you have in yourself. That's what we have to do. And that's the way I see a lot of the things that, I mean, we just got work to do, man. It's a never-ending mission that we on, sister.
Absolutely. I have one final question for you, brother. You know, because one of the things that I do know about us is that we can be very disciplined, and sometimes we can appear that we don't have fun. So I'm gonna ask you this question as we close out. What brings you joy every day?
Man, what brings me joy every day? Honestly, I have two sons. Okay, I have a son that's 21 years old, and I have a son that's 3 years old. Love both of them, and definitely could do better as a father in areas. But that is not the greatest of what brings me joy. The greatest of what brings me joy is knowing that I'm alive. Life is a man's kingdom. Life is a woman's kingdom. It doesn't get any better than life itself. It doesn't get any better. Not even your children, because self-preservation is the first law of nature. When you're in an airplane, and before the plane takes off, and the steward, whatever the person is, the steward is explaining to you about You know, if the oxygen, the thing
Right.
come down and you have children, she don't tell you to grab it and put it on the child first. She say put it on yourself first.
Come on.
Because you have to secure yourself first.
Right.
And then attend to the child. Because if you do it out of order, see, man,
Come on now.
if you do it out of order,
Yes, sir.
see, the first law of the universe is motion, and the second law is order. And see, and to have law, you have to have order. So we're falling into a law, okay? Self-preservation. Because if I put it on my child first, I'm trying to hurry up and do it on my child, and then I lose consciousness of loss of oxygen, and I'm not able to secure the child, and I pass out. Now the child pass out. Now
Right.
we're both in trouble.
Right.
So I have to secure myself and then attend. So for me, what brings me joy is knowing that every day that I wake up, I have another opportunity to align myself with the God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I say that I love it because you and I have the same joy. I said if I woke up, then everything else is a bonus. Everything else is a blessing.
Absolutely.
So all praise is due to Allah.
All praise.
Brother Winford, I appreciate you so much.
Likewise, sister.
I didn't know you was a little student minister in you. So I had to come. I wasn't ready. I was ready, but I was like, okay, we got to set up a different format for you. I need to give you a topic and just let you teach, brother. But that's what happens. And I just want to say this to everyone. What happens when you are filled with the teachings, when you are filled with the Spirit of God, this is what comes out. And I love it. It's a beautiful thing. And I pray that this interview, if it inspires you, if it helps you get one step closer to who you are, then we've done our job.
Yes,
and I pray that anything that we have said that may not be of God, that you just go ahead and throw that away. But what is of God, please keep it, share it, pass it on to someone else. And most importantly, I will just say that, as the brother said, self-improvement is the basis of community development.
Absolutely.
Self-improvement is where we have to focus our work. It's so easy to criticize outside of ourselves, but the best work is to start with ourselves. And so I just thank you, brother, for just shining so much light on the teachings and also giving another perspective of the teachings. So
thank you, sister.
I just appreciate you for that.
Yes, ma'am. And I appreciate you for allowing me to come and be interviewed on your platform. And may Allah continue to bless you, continue to do what you do, and continue to allow you to strive to help in your department. We all have talents and skills.
Yes,
so all of us are soldiers, men and women. Right. All of us are on the same team, and we're striving to better ourselves, and we're striving with the Spirit to help in particular the Black man and woman, but to extend that to, any human being.
That's right.
Any human being to understand their truth. And I'm thankful and I'm humble. Whatever I can do to continue to wake someone up, because I believe, Sister Amani, that it's people out here only you can reach. And it's people out here that I can only reach.
Yes, sir.
People out here that only Brother Ben can reach.
That's right.
God made all of us special. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said, every one of us is great. We all come from direct descendants, the original man.
Come on.
From God himself. So all of us are just expressions of his mind.
That's right.
His attributes that he possessed himself. So I'm thankful, sister. And this definitely gave me a jolt and ignited my spirit to continue what I got going on. Brothers and sisters, if you're looking at this this interview, like I was saying to the sister, I do self-improvement, the basis for community development on my Instagram, Knowledge 5845 on my Instagram. On my Facebook, my name is Winford Perry, my Determined to Change page. I do self-improvement. I go live just about every day, just talking about life within itself, life in general, bringing it back to looking in the mirror. That is my whole makeup. Whenever you see your brother, I want you to know me as a brother who strive to be a universal representation, meaning that you in the streets, I've been there. You sold drugs, you robbed, you carried the pistol, you did all that. Hey, look, me too.
Right.
I've been there.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? I've been there. So there are no big eyes and little U's when it comes to this work and to this mission and bettering yourself. And don't be afraid to say that you're a God-fearing man. Don't be afraid to say that you're a God-fearing woman. I know some of the women are in the strip clubs, and that's not what you really want to do. You just doing it because you like, man, I just need the bread. Look, I understand. I'm not going to look down on you.
Right.
But I am going to say to you that voice that you hear in you, that's the God.
That's right.
That is the messenger of God in you as your reality. So I'm not going to tell nobody what decision to make, but what I will say is that consciousness and that awareness that you hear in yourself, strive to start listening to that more and more and more, and you'll be surprised that will save your life.
Absolutely. There it is. All praises due to Allah. Thank you all for tapping in. Thank you for all the comments that came through in the live. And again, if you want to continue just to stay connected, inspiration, text the word freedom to 503-433-6332. I'm your sister, Imani Muhammad. You can find me on Instagram as well. But most important, just share this out. Somebody needs to hear this. I needed to hear it. I always say we are the first teachers. When we speak words, it's coming to us first. So we needed to hear this. The brother and I needed this conversation for our own spirit. And we just pray that we can inspire and motivate anyone else that hears these words. So with that being said, Brother Winford, thank you so much. I'm calling you very soon because I need you to come back again. We're just going to do a part 2 on some other topics, but I appreciate you so much. And I love you and the brothers and all that you're doing in your city, Hereafter Farms, all that good stuff. I love it. So just know your sister all the way in Portland, Oregon is sending you some good vibes. So thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, sister. Likewise. Salam alaikum.
Yes, sir. Walaikum salam. All right, y'all. There it is. Thank y'all for tuning in. I pray that something was said of value for you all. I'm getting ready to close out, but you can go to my website, imanimuhammad.co. That is my personal website with my books on there. Please support. Please drop a comment in the chat. Drop a comment on this interview. Watch some other interviews. But most importantly, just share this out with another friend or somebody that you know needs to hear this. So until next time, my friends, peace and blessings. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.